Survivor Season 41, Episode 9 recap coming your way. Spoilers from this point forward. This episode, it just kind of left me a little bummed, to be honest. I don't know. I think it was a good episode. There was definitely some strategy, some good strategic moves, some really bad strategic moves, in my opinion. But I'm trying not to be biased because I didn't like the outcome of who got voted out. And spoiler, 2 people ended up getting voted out today. And both of them were very likable, so I didn't like to see them go. So I'm a little bummed, but it was a decent episode. Let's dive right in, starting with this immunity challenge. And this immunity challenge we've seen before. It's the one where they're on a board and they have to hang with their arms around behind themselves and their feet are on a little wooden plank. And this challenge is designed for flexible people and people with not a lot of muscle mass. So Danny, right from the start, I knew was not going to do well. If you go back to Survivor David versus Goliath, Christian, the really wicked smart dude, he was up there for hours on this thing, just babbling about whatever it was. So just keep in mind his frame. He didn't have much muscle. He was able to just reach back without cramping up. When you have a lot of muscles, you cramp up. So I knew from the get-go that this challenge was designed advantageously for certain people. And I'm surprised, after 41 seasons, Survivor, this is like the 3rd challenge that I've recognized that they've recycled from years past. Ever since Evie knew that puzzle and was like, yeah, I saw that on season whatever, and I knew that puzzle, I knew how to do it. I don't know why they keep using the same challenges. I don't know. I like to see new stuff. I guess there are challenges out there that I want future players to play and experience, but I don't know. 41 seasons, spice it up a little bit. Now, the big twist this episode was that they were going to split the remaining 10 people into 2 tribes of 5, and there would be 1 immunity winner from each and 1 person voted out from each. They've done this in the past, so it wasn't anything new. I still don't like it, especially this season, because there's 3 people with hidden immunity idols, which means if they got split up on the same tribe and none of them won immunity and something went haywire and they all played their idol and then the person who won immunity has an idol, then you got a situation like Cirie that one season where the last person is just out by default. And I don't like that. So they really ran a risk here with doing that. No matter how they split it, there was going to be at least 2 people with an idol at a tribal council. So on the yellow tribe, if you will, it came down pretty much to Erica and Naseer. And like I said, I didn't expect Naseer to win because of his muscle mass. But Shan is on the bench cheering, outwardly cheering for Ricard and cheering for Naseer. You're really, I don't know. Why are you going to be cheering for certain players? You're really showing where your alliances are. I know it's not a secret for her anyway, but still, like, why are you outwardly displaying who you're rooting for? Eventually, Naseer's hand falls asleep and Erica wins, and they're all, oh, darn it, she was our target. Now we got to find something new. On the other side, it ended up being between Xander and Deshawn, and Liana's on the bench. Like, look at Xander. Look at his face. I hate it. I hate his face. And I'm like, whoa. What are you even saying right now? Like, do you not know you're on TV? Like, there's cameras zooming in on you. I hate his face. And this wasn't in like a kidding way. Like, she genuinely hates his face. And I think that she is still upset for making for when he made her super embarrassed about that knowledge is power thing that blew up in her face. But I'm like, Liana, you're taking this a step too far. Like, you're just being mean at this point. Like, they never showed, I mean, the show hasn't shown us anything other than that moment as to why you would be this angry at Xander, but you're just being mean. I mean, just calm down. It's gotten to the point where it's like you can't even root for Liana anymore. You can't root for her because she's just mean. Like, she's negative. Her and Shan are in this power alliance, and they're just so negative, in my opinion. I don't like their attitude and their behaviors towards other people. Meanwhile, there's other people like Naseer who is just full of joy 24/7. But at the end of the day, Xander ended up winning immunity, which made Liana even more upset. And now the two tribes had to go off and strategize to see who they're going to vote out. Xander, for winning the challenge, he wins his little tribe a reward of chicken and beef stew, and they took a moment. Like, Xander could have gone on about this stew for hours, and he was loving it. And so I thought that was pretty funny that they showed that. But I digress. We go into strategy talks, and pretty much they're saying Heather's the target on that one tribe with Shan, Ricard, Naseer, Erica, and Heather. And and Erica says, Heather and I are a close two. And I'm like, since when? I mean, they never show you guys, so okay, yeah, I guess you're a close two. Shan and Ricard are a close two. Naseer should have all the power here. He's the swing vote. He can go either way. But instead of being a good player, Naseer just completely shuts out Erica and Heather. I understand that he had issues with Heather because Heather threw his name out there. She didn't vote for him, but he didn't believe that. Xander actually voted for him. And Heather's taken the blame for that. But Naseer just completely shuts them out. And I'm like, Naseer, what are you doing, man? You're in the position of power. Just like yes them on. Just be like, yeah, I'll vote your way. Yeah. But now that you're being so adamantly against working with them and so comfortable because you have an idol, now you're the target. Don't you understand that? So Ricard, that slithering snake, he's just sneaky. Ricard is sneaky. He slithers on over to Erica and Heather and goes, I want Naseer out. He's got way more power. I don't understand why people are going for Heather, which I agree. Heather hasn't done anything. Every move that she's made has blown up. Every move. She's done one move where she did a live tribal last week, and it was a disaster. Heather's not going to win. So keep Heather around. Get rid of Naseer, who is the most likable person ever to play Survivor. And Shan's like, no, I want Heather out. I want Heather out. I don't trust her. And I'm like, oh my God, Shan, I can't root for you either because you're so... She's so intense. She's just like, she's the boss. She's bossy. She's intense. So we get to tribal. What are we going to do that's happening? I'm surprised. Heather's pretty much laid down in defeat. I'm expecting her to play her shot in the dark because why not? She's expecting to go home. She doesn't. So we get 2 votes for Naseer out the gate. We get 2 votes for Heather. 3 votes Naseer out the gate. 2 votes for Heather. And then, boom, 3 votes Heather. So it's tied. There were 6 votes casted, only 5 people, which means that Shan and Ricard used their extra vote. But how did they use it? Well, let's go to the revote, and Jeff announces 3 votes for Naseer. Naseer is eliminated. Now, why did Jeff announce 3 votes for Naseer if there were only 4 people on the revote? It's because apparently the extra vote carries over to the revote, which is an incredible power. I think borderline overpowered because it gives you it not only gives you 2 votes on a revote, but when you're using an extra vote towards someone and they're the target, one of 2 targets, they don't have a vote anymore. So now your extra vote is one more powerful than that other team. Might be too complicated, but okay. I think it's a little overpowered. Now, what happened? Why did Shan and Ricard play their extra idol? We see in the confessional that Ricard voted for Heather. Shan voted 1 for Heather, 1 for Naseer. People are saying this is stupid. They wasted it. Well, it was more of a safe play. They did this just in case Naseer played his idol. Let's say Naseer plays his idol, okay? And they put all of the votes on Heather. And Heather played her shot in the dark. Who's going home now? Well, it's either Shan or Ricard. So by splitting it between Heather and Naseer and causing them to do a revote, if Naseer didn't play his idol, then it would just do a revote and it would be no issue. If he did at that point, then there's enough votes on Heather for her to go home, unless she played the shot in the dark. But that wasn't really a factor in this scenario. So I do think this was a smart play by Shan and Ricard. Shan is going to get all the credit for getting out Naseer. I already know it now, even though it was specifically Ricard's idea, because Shan was the one with the extra vote. He said, let me use your extra vote to do this. And Shan says, no, I'm not giving you power. What? I don't give power away in this game. It's mine. I want the power. And now she's going to take credit for getting out Naseer. I think at the end, Shan is either going to be perceived as this great player or the jury's going to be bitter for getting everyone out. I love Naseer, though, because he was just smiling the entire time. He just got blindsided with an idol in his pocket, and he's just sitting there smiling the whole time. He's just a good sport about it. Really someone that you can root for, so I'm really bummed that he's out of the game. But he really wasn't a smart player, guys. Like, I know we love him so much, but he had all the power. And in that situation, when there's only 5-person tribal, only 4 people can be voted for, play your idol. Why are you going to save it? If you play your idol in that situation, you're guaranteed top 8. You don't have an idol anymore, so that shifts the focus, the threat focus, towards Xander and Shan, who are the 2 remaining people with idols, now that you don't have yours anymore. So make it to the top 8. Maybe you win an immunity challenge. Then you're at top 7. Then you can start narrowing it down. I hate these people that just because they have an idol in their pocket, they think they're safe. Well, you actually have to play it. And a lot of people in this game, they just never want to play their idol because they want to save it for later on in the game. And I'm like, no, you play the idol when you need it. And in a 5-person tribal, anything can happen. So Naseer, I love him, but I think it was his time to go. Now let's switch over to the other tribe. And this one was between Danny, Deshawn, Liana, Evie, and Xander. And pretty much that Black Alliance is voting for Evie. And Xander and Evie, they want to target Liana because Liana's Shan's number 1. Who's the swing vote in this situation? It's Deshawn, because Deshawn is fed up with Shan. He's saying, oh man, she's so bossy. She doesn't listen to me. I can't work with her. She's annoying me. This is my opportunity to make a big move. So we're on the fence on which way he's going to go. We know that Deshawn is tight with Evie, so maybe he will vote out Liana. It's interesting that Liana has the nerve to go up to Xander and goes, well, if you give me your idol, it'll trust me that you won't play it. And I'm like, my God, Liana, you're really, really, really showing what type of player you are. And that's just, use your brain. Like, what are you talking about? Why would he ever give up his idol? You're just looking silly for asking. Like, I just laughed. He's just like, oh, give my idol to you? No, not to you. And she's like, I hate Xander. I hate your face, by the way. So it's Deshawn wants to work with Evie. They want to make this big splash. And Liana says to Xander, well, if you play your idol for Evie, then it's got to be Deshawn. And Xander tells Deshawn this, but he doesn't quite believe him. I don't know why. At this point, Deshawn, you got to walk the walk. If you're talking this talk, you got to walk the walk. We get to the vote. It's split 2-2. 2 votes for Evie, 2 votes for Deshawn. Xander has an opportunity, but it doesn't work. And Deshawn votes for Evie. Evie's eliminated from the game. Bad strategy move from Xander here, in my opinion, because obviously he wanted to keep Evie around. That's why he voted to get Liana out. If he had played his extra vote in this situation towards Liana, it would have been tied 3-3. We know from the other tribal that extra votes are carried through to the revote. So it would have been a revote between Xander, Deshawn, and Danny. And they would have voted between either Evie or Liana. Xander, with his 2 extra votes, would have voted for Liana. Danny and Deshawn would have voted for Evie. It would have been tied again. After another tie, it would have put Deshawn and Danny at risk to go home to draw rocks, because that's the tiebreaker at this point in the game. So if Xander really maybe knew the rules of the extra vote and had thought about it a little bit more and really wanted to keep Evie that round, he would have used his extra vote there. You don't have to use the idol because you want to use the idol for yourself. I get that. But this was the time to use that extra vote to keep an ally in your pocket and get rid of someone who's actively working against you. Maybe he thought Liana was somehow with him, but he couldn't have. He voted for her, so there's no way. So I think Xander really exposed himself. I think he's getting a lot of credit for moves this year that maybe he doesn't quite deserve. Unpopular opinion right here. Because I listened to Tiffany's Ponderosa exit interviews and whatnot, and she was saying that whole plan to thwart Liana's knowledge is power advantage was Tiffany and Evie's idea. So he's getting credit for making these big, flashy moves, but I don't think that was a good move here. I think Xander's in trouble. He's on the bottom. He's going to have to now work with Heather and Erica, who they don't really talk strategy at all. They're not really reliable in that factor. They're just going to have to hope that that core 5 alliance is just going to fall apart. And in the scenes for next week, we see that a little bit. We see hints at them falling apart. But we'll have to wait and see. Something that I missed earlier on was about Shan. I just have to bash her a little bit more. When they're on the beach, the 4, Danny, Deshawn, Liana, and Shan, they're on the beach. And Xander and Erica are talking right next to them. And she stands up. Shan stands up and says, I think the 4 of us need to go and have a chat. I'm like, do you have no social awareness, or do you just not care? Do you really think that you have that much power in the game that you could just do whatever you want? And I really think that she thinks she can. Because, quite frankly, she does. She's never been voted for. She has an idol. She has an extra advantage. She's bossy. She's getting her way most of the time. She kind of can do whatever she wants. I don't like it. I think her true colors are coming out. I don't think she's really a great person. Just her attitude is so negative all the time. Her and Liana are just so negative all the time. It's impossible to root for. But, I mean, you got to give Shan credit. She's had a hand in pretty much eliminating everyone to this point. Whereas Xander, he's only voted correctly once. He's only voted correctly for Vochi. So it's like, who's the better player? Well, he had that flashy move, but he had an opportunity here to really switch the game. Deshawn had an opportunity to distinguish himself rather than being part of Shan's army. And he didn't do that either. So a lot of players in this game, they talk a big game, but when it comes down to crunch time, Deshawn, I think you missed an opportunity there. So power rankings to end this. And here's my winner pick. I have a new theory on the winner, and I think the winner is going to be Ricard, because Ricard is coming up with all these ideas that Shan is getting credit for. I think that he's gonna, when it comes down to maybe 5 or 6, he's gonna make a big move to get out Shan, and he's gonna make the final 3. Even if Ricard's in the final 3 against Shan, I just don't think people are gonna vote for Shan. She's just not likable, from at least what we're seeing. Of course, it's an edited TV show, but especially with that segment when they showed what it's like hearing with only one ear, because Ricard's deaf in one ear. That was an intentional inclusion, and I think they want to give us a little bit more of a story of who the winner is going to be, and I think it's going to be Ricard. So my power rankings are going to be Ricard 1. I think Shan deserves to be in the top 3. She's never been voted for, and maybe you could put Xander because he's making all these flashy moves. I think his game was exposed this time around. So I'm just going to throw in Erica, because I think Erica, if she somehow makes the final against the right people, is going to be well-liked enough to get some votes. And she's who I'm rooting for to win at this point, because I do think the Xander train is a little overhyped. All right, guys, that's season 41 of Survivor, episode 9 recap. Let's wait to see what happens next time, and I'll see you then. Woo!